Okay, so this video is an attempt at killing 3 birds with 1 stone. Right there we've got the Blue Max 52cc 20-inch bar Chinese Zenoa clone chainsaw that I am doing a review on. Right here is a gallon of, I think it's 91 octane, but it is ethanol-free gasoline. It is 1 gallon, and I am adding Stihl Ultra 2-stroke oil to it. Now, normally this stuff right here, the only thing that I would ever consider using it for is maybe bar oil. I think this stuff is trash. The carbon buildup that it leaves behind on your piston and your spark arrestor screen, all that stuff is just absolutely absurd. I think that it is Stihl's planned obsolescence bullshit. But for this right here, I want to run an entire tank of gasoline through this saw, this brand new saw. Run the entire tank of gasoline through it with the Stihl 50-to-1 Ultra mix. And then I will do a test against another saw that has had the same thing going on with it, but with Echo Red Armor. Okay, so 3 birds with 1 stone. I'm going to review the chainsaw. I'm going to run a tank of gas through it of Stihl 50-to-1 Ultra. And I am going to split this wood. Been meaning to do it and procrastinating and procrastinating and procrastinating. I've already put bar oil in it, so we're good here. This is the first fuel that I have ever put in this saw. Let's get cutting and see how she does. Oh, for me to even be capable of pulling off this test, I have to put a different bar and chain on there. So, ow, and it's hot as a motherfucker. So clearly it's not being oiled properly. Yeah. Okay, so so far this thing's been a total piece of shit. But I'm going to put a different bar and chain on there and see why it's not oiling, because oil is getting all over the place coming out the bottom. So clearly the oil pump is working. It's just not getting on the bar the way that it needs to. But yeah, I got to switch out that bar and chain in order to be able to even test this. I did notice right off the bat that the bar that they sent is an 063 gauge. Now it doesn't say 063, it says 5/8 on there, but it's definitely an 063 gauge, and the chain is an 058. So that's part of my problem. I'll be back. Okay, so I'm back. Got a decent bar and chain on here, and let's see if she'll start. That's it. She's out of fuel. All right, so thoughts on the saw. Let me get the camera set up here. Okay, honest thoughts on the saw. That was a hard work on a Chinese clone 52cc saw, brand new out of the box. So, and I do understand that. It's getting oil, right? But I had 3 issues. I think that's right. Number 1, the tune was terrible out of the box. Most people can't deal with that. They just go, it doesn't run, and send it back. So that's a very big hit right out the box. The tune was absolutely horrific. Second thing, the bar and chain were mismatched. It had an 063 bar, even though it said 058 on it. It was an 063 bar. I measured it, right? And it had an 058 chain. So every time I cut, my chain was moving side to side, and it would give me a crooked cut. So I had to switch out to a different bar and chain, right? So that's strike 2. Strike 3 was, it had some weird gasket underneath the metal plate that goes on the chainsaw side of the bar, you know, and covers up your oil galley and stuff. And that gasket was weird and funky and misshapen, and it was causing a problem. My oil wasn't getting to my bar. So it's 3 strikes, you're out. It's a piece of shit. Don't get one of these saws. All right. Other issues. It sounded really funky. All right. Surely something in the muffler is a little bit loose or something like that, but it was making a really weird metal on metal sound, and I did not like that at all. Also, that muffler got so hot that it was burning the wood. See that? That's from the muffler. Whoa. Now the saw itself, it ain't bad at all, you know, so it wasn't running hot. It's weak as a kitten, but now I understand that I'm doing heavy duty work for it right out the gate, and that's kind of wrong. If you were looking for something that was just simple and cut up some branches and stuff like that, the power on this saw I think would do fine for you. Okay? But do I recommend getting one? No, it's a piece of shit. The Weimars is way better than that. Way, way better. You know, from the casting of the case just looking like crap, it looks like it was sand casted, you know, to the plastic feeling cheap and brittle. It's junk. It sounds like junk. It feels like junk. It's a junk saw, and I don't recommend it to anybody. But now that we've ran an entire tank of fuel through it, we're going to blow it up. We're going to straight gas it. No need to straight gas it because the Stihl Ultra HD oil is so bad, it didn't even last the tank. There you have it. So a lot of things can be said here. This muffler is a full-on catalytic muffler. Okay, anytime you see that honeycomb type of thing in there, then these mufflers get so damn hot. It's to try and burn off any leftover fuel and oil that is in the exhaust that's coming out. That's why it gets hot like that. The saw itself, though, I had been placing my hand on the top of it, and it wasn't that bad at all. It really wasn't. So, here's my thought. I've really considered this. The way I tuned it, I actually had it tuned fat. You know, I had to speed up the video. It took almost 20 minutes to run out a tank of fuel. You guys don't want to watch that much cutting. So, but whenever I first put this onto the wood and I readjusted because I didn't have enough power, I fattened it up. I gave it a lot more fuel. So this thing was running fat. It had more than enough fuel. Okay? I am confident in that. I had it running fat. The problem is that Stihl Ultra oil sucks. It's the worst oil on the market. Now, yeah, you could go, well, that Chinese chainsaw is, that aluminum is soft and they score up real easy. You're right. You could go, well, it's got that catalytic muffler and they store a lot of heat. You're right. However, I have the exact same chainsaw that has had various other oils ran through it. Right there. Bam. Is its piston scored? Nope. So you put one really good hard working on a cheap saw. I will not deny that it is a cheap saw. Everything about it is trash, but it should have lasted for more than one tank. One tank. And it was sounding nasty too. You could hear that metal on metal. You could hear it. It just wasn't no good. So, I don't know what I'm going to do with this saw, but the little things like the chain actually being the wrong size for the bar. The bar is an 063 bar. I measured it. I got one of these thingies, you know. The bar is absolutely an 063 bar, and that chain didn't work on it. So between that, the oiling problem, and of course the failure, I contacted the seller on eBay and I was like, this thing's a piece of junk. I want my money back. And so they're supposed to be giving me my money back, and we'll see where it goes there. Will I rebuild this saw? I'm not sure. I don't know. It is trash. This thing is trash. There are absolutely different levels of quality between the Chinese clone saws. Some of them are junk. Others can be quite nice. My Weimars is very nice. I have ran the Kuchir, junk, total trash. Throw it out the window. I have ran now the Blue Max, total trash, junk. Throw it out the window. The Craftsman 46cc that you can buy at Lowe's, it's going to be just like the Blue Max. And even though I did give a decent review of it, it was because I understand that you can make it better. So if you want that and everything, if you want this Blue Max, you can make it decent. You know, it's there. But I don't recommend buying either one of them. So the Remington, all of them, they're all the same thing, but there are varying different qualities. I have heard that the Salem Master is a good one. And I know that the Weimars, at least the one with all the square plastic, because they make two different kinds. One that's got all funky plastic, kind of like this Blue Max, you know, it's got this futuristic look to it or something. And you have the one that has an old school look to it, very similar to a Husqvarna 55. I have both of mine that I have owned had the squared off Husqvarna 55 looking plastic, and both of them very high quality clone saws. So anyways, yeah, I got to say two things. Don't buy a Blue Max. They're junk. And don't use Stihl Ultra oil at 50 to 1. I mean, it might have been a different case if I had it at 32 to 1, you know. But yeah, it's no good. It doesn't offer any protection. None. And so if you're in a situation like what I'm at right now, I had it tuned right. There is no doubt in my mind whatsoever. I had it tuned right. But it's got a catalytic muffler, and I was being particularly hard on it. And the Stihl oil did not offer enough protection. Plain and simple. Would this saw have survived if I was running Red Armor? Yep. I mean, I can't say for sure, but yeah, it would have survived if I had been using a better oil. And plus, I run my Red Armor at 40 to 1. You know, so let's break that down real quick. You buy these right here. It's 16 fluid ounces. It's 16 fluid ounces. And they say that it is it's a 6-gallon mix, right? So if you use this in 6 gallons of fuel, that gives you a perfect 50 to 1. How many out there have seen a 6-gallon gas can? I've never seen one, ever, in my life. Never. I've never seen a 6-gallon gas can. They're 5 gallons. You could get 2.5 gallons, right? You could do that. And wait a minute, no, that's still only 5 gallons. What am I doing? So no, they're all 5 gallons. So even though this says it's a 6-gallon mix, very clearly Echo wants you to use it in 5 gallons of fuel, because dumping this in a 5-gallon container gives you a perfect 40-to-1 mixture. There is no such thing as a 6-gallon fuel tank, at least not that I have seen. So that EPA wants everything to run at 50-to-1. Red Armor, they're like, okay, yeah, this for 6 gallons, this is a perfect 50-to-1. But they know that nobody's got a 6-gallon can. So they're going to dump this into a 5-gallon can, and that's going to give them 40-to-1, because that's where you should be running it. And everybody that does stuff with, all of the other stuff, Amsoil, Opti, what is the name of that one? Maybe it's OptiFuel, it's like, 101. Go for it. Go for it. If you've got a cool running saw, and you want to try it, go ahead. I ain't doing it. 50-to-1 Stihl Ultra failed after 1 tank. That's bullshit. That stuff is trash. That stuff is trash. And so is the Blue Max.